acting all high and mighty over just the cost of studying in France. Do you enjoy blaming others that much? The amount I gave Nancy was $50,000. It's too significant amount to be dismissed as just. After treating it so carelessly and then defiantly yelling at me, I've had enough of such selfish talk. I'm done with a spiteful MIL like you. Don't you dare come to my daughter's wedding. Fine, gladly. After various arguments, I angrily hung up the phone, carried away by my emotions. Once the living room quieted down, I realized I might have been too impulsive. However, I couldn't let go until I made my eldest son, Adam's wife, Nancy, who lied and used her daughter to deceive me out of money, learn her lesson. I've decided to take some revenge to correct her dishonesty. My name is Kayla. I'm turning 76 this year. I have 2 sons. Since Adam and Nancy have a daughter, Hannah, I couldn't help but adore her. Not wanting to be too interfering, I made sure not to skimp on the gifts for her celebrations. Looking forward to photos sent by Adam for events like first birthday and graduations became a joy. When Hannah was in college, Nancy approached me with a request. Hannah wanted to study in France, but they were struggling to afford it. Poor Hannah, it's heartbreaking she can't go despite her hard work at studying. As much as I'd like to help, I can't just provide such a large sum. Then, I'll cover it. How much do you need? Actually, about $50,000. $50,000. I was taken aback by the amount, but it seemed reasonable for a long-term study in France. Above all, I wanted to fulfill my dear granddaughter's wish. So, I withdrew $50,000 from my savings and handed it to Nancy. Nancy thanked me profusely, and I felt good about it, with no regrets. Trusting Nancy was my first mistake, as I would later come to realize. Eventually, I was told by my son Adam that Hannah's study in France was arranged. Adam mentioned it casually, without expressing any gratitude for the financial support. While I found it odd, I thought it might just be his way, especially since Nancy had shown plenty of gratitude. I received occasional updates from Hannah in France. She was telling me about her new friends and unique experiences, and I was enjoying looking at it. Yet, neither she nor anyone else mentioned the funding. I wondered if expecting gratitude was too much, but couldn't shake off the feeling something was off. I really appreciate your help with the cost for Hannah's study in France. Thank you so much. It's nothing. I've been getting emails from Hannah too. It's great she's enjoying herself. Emails from Hannah? What did she talk about? Just trivial stuff about what she's eating and such. Why do you ask? It was only Nancy who seemed overly thankful every time we met. Perhaps Nancy handled all the arrangements of Hannah's study in France and didn't discuss the financial details with them. I tried to convince myself of that to justify their lack of expressed gratitude. Maybe I was being presumptuous in wanting direct appreciation from them. With that thought, I tried to let go of the lingering dissatisfaction. The truth behind my unease became clear years later when I heard Hannah was graduating and planning her wedding. I learned about Hannah's wedding when I received her invitation. Finding the lovely message card in the post made me as happy as if it were my own celebration. I immediately called Hannah to convey my congratulations and share some lighthearted chat. It was during this conversation that I finally understood the source of my long-standing malaise. Hannah, I received your invitation, congratulations. Thank you, Grandma. Will you come to the wedding? Of course. It was during this casual, expected conversation that we stumbled upon the topic of her college days and her study in France. Hannah shared as many memories as she could recall, including her studies and what it was like at a foreign university. Those sound like wonderful memories. Just hearing about them makes me happy. It was amazing. It would have been perfect if I hadn't had to worry about money. Money? Yes. I had to take out a scholarship for the study in France. It was quite a hassle with all the conditions. I was puzzled by her words. I was certain I had given Nancy $50,000 for Hannah's study expenses in France. As I checked my bank statement, I confirmed this while finding Hannah's story strange. But Hannah insisted that she had arranged her own scholarship for the study abroad, after researching the requirements. There's no mistake. I have all the documents from when I took out the scholarship. It's strange. I had a discussion with Nancy and definitely gave her the money. We puzzled over it on the phone, but it seemed impossible to uncover the truth that way. Hannah said she would check with her mother and hung up. I was worried about what could have happened to such a large sum of money. But the truth that I learned from Nancy's call the next day shocked me. Oh, Nancy. Good timing. There's something I want to ask you. Please don't tell Hannah unnecessary things. Nancy snapped at me without a greeting, clearly very upset. Though I didn't want to suspect her, that the unnecessary things she referred to must have been about the money for study in France. Her tone made me certain she had done something with the $50,000 meant for Hannah. I confronted Nancy, raising my voice just as she had. What unnecessary things are you talking about? I thought I had given the money for Hannah's study in France. I've already thanked you so many times for that. But Hannah said she took out a scholarship. What did you do with the $50,000? As I pressed her for what she used the money for, Nancy's responses became evasive. After persistent questioning, she started making excuses that clearly sounded false. Like using it for Hannah's wedding or that they couldn't afford college tuition. I pushed her further, frustrated. If that was the case, you could have just told me honestly, and I would have helped. What I want to know is why you lied. Why does it matter now? Are you saying you want the money back after all this time? I just want to know why you felt the need to lie and take such a large sum of money. As I pressed on, Nancy raised her voice, trying to deflect the conversation. Her constant lying and evasiveness only fueled my irritation. Yet, as I relentlessly returned to the point, asking only for her reasons, she eventually snapped, yelling back at me. I was furious at her audacity to lie and take such a large sum of money and then act so brazenly. Acting all high and mighty over just the cost of studying in France. Do you enjoy blaming others that much? You're the one at fault here. Don't tell me you used it for yourself? You're so persistent. I'm done with a spiteful MIL like you. Don't come to my daughter's wedding. Fed up with her selfishness, I retorted, gladly, and hung up the phone. In the silence that followed, I wondered if I had been too impulsive. But I couldn't let Nancy get away with lying and using her daughter to scam money. I decided to take some form of revenge to correct her dishonesty. Though it pained me to tell Hannah I wouldn't attend her wedding after initially accepting. However, Nancy's actions were inexcusable, especially since it involved my dear granddaughter. Taking a deep breath, I emailed Hannah. Explaining my wish to give her the congratulatory gift directly due to my distrust of Nancy, and we agreed to meet in person. What? Grandma, you can't come to the wedding? I'm sorry, dear. There are some circumstances this time. But you never come to my celebrations, Grandma. What? I was taken aback by Hannah's words. I had always tried not to be too interfering as a grandmother and had often declined attending celebrations. Instead, I thought I had been supportive in terms of financial assistance. But upon reflection, I realized my concern about being too interfering began when I noticed Nancy's displeased expressions. I had been content with just pictures for Hannah's celebrations, but perhaps I had been unwittingly kept at a distance. The money I had given for those celebrations might not have been used for Hannah after all. This thought made my blood run cold. Listen, Hannah. I did actually give Nancy the money for your study in France. I heard about that from Mom. But she said she didn't receive it. So, I called Nancy to ask about it. I shared the details of my phone conversation with Nancy. How she evaded questions about the $50,000. And how she had lashed out at me. I was worried Hannah might not believe me, considering it was her mother involved. But Hannah lowered her gaze and muttered, "I thought so," as if something clicked. Mom sometimes lies blatantly. She gets mad and yells back if I call her out on her obvious lies. Really? So, I believe what you're saying, Grandma. It's unforgivable to deceive someone for money. Hannah took my hand, saying, we should get back at her. I wanted Nancy to reflect on her actions, so Hannah's proposal was a welcome one. Considering Nancy might cause trouble at the wedding, Hannah sadly suggested I shouldn't attend but invited me to the wedding photo shoot instead. Are you sure? Aren't those pictures supposed to be with family? It's okay. I'd rather have photos with you than with Mom, who always lies. I've always felt sad that there are no pictures of you in our albums. A month later, after consulting with her fiancé, Hannah decided to move up the photo shoot to avoid any interference from Nancy. Hannah's bridal attire was even more stunning in person than in photos, and I couldn't help but get carried away with excitement. Seeing us, my son Adam gave a wry smile and apologized, feeling sorry for me. It seemed Adam had also had his doubts about Nancy's behavior, and hearing this story from Hannah confirmed his suspicions. Sorry, Mom. I thought you couldn't attend Hannah's celebrations because Nancy told me you had trouble walking. Is that so? And the money I've given Hannah over the years, that was all right? I think that was okay. I was there when we received it. Then it's fine. Adam mentioned he had other concerns about Nancy and was looking into them. Both Hannah and Adam were growing increasingly distrustful of Nancy's actions, especially given the amount involved in this incident. While I was chatting with the two allies I had gained, Nancy called my cell phone again. She had found out about the photo shoot being moved up and was displeased, calling to scold me. What have you done? What are you talking about? I heard you've already done the wedding photo shoot. Why would you do that without me, her mother? Why would you think I did such a thing? It's obvious. You're just spiteful because you can't attend the wedding. Nancy said triumphantly. I sighed softly before explaining the truth to Nancy. About that the change in the photo shoot schedule was Hannah and Adam's idea. Realizing I had shared the truth with them, Nancy was taken aback and fell silent. But soon she reverted to her defiant tone and started yelling at me again. Hannah and Adam, who had been listening in, grimaced and shook their heads. You must have said something about supposedly giving Hannah the money, right? She wouldn't believe it without proof. No, she believed me, and that's why we could have the photo shoot without you. Why would Hannah trust you over me, her own mother? It's probably because of your actions over time. Or would you like me to put her on the phone instead? When I asked this, Nancy responded with a loud ha! Hannah, who had been listening with a frown, took the phone from me. Mom? Hannah. How could you not invite me, your own mother, to such an important photo shoot? What were you thinking? Mom, you haven't even apologized to Grandma. Well, you haven't apologized to me either. What about the wedding photos without me, your mother, in them? Unable to bear Nancy's shouting, Adam took the phone from Hannah. They spoke a bit away from us, but it seemed the conversation didn't go well, as Adam hung up and quietly shook his head. I didn't think communication could break down this much. It's okay, Dad. I'm going to get back at Mom. You mentioned that before, but what will you do? I have a good idea. Seeing Hannah's mischievous smile, Adam and I exchanged worried glances. I informed Adam about my decision to skip the wedding and asked him to record it for me. Later, Adam showed me the video, and I was shocked. It featured Hannah reading a letter of thanks directed at her mother. My mother used the money Grandma gave for my study in France to pay off her own debts. As the video captured the murmuring of the crowd, Hannah's voice clearly relayed how the money I had given for her study in France was misused by Nancy. She kept this a secret from me, Hannah, and Adam, and had disregarded me all along. Also, she did not have any respect me for this whole time. On the wedding day itself, I was made to miss the event because of Nancy. Hannah revealed all this in a loud, clear voice in front of the relatives. During the event, there were moments when a figure resembling Nancy was seen causing a commotion and raising her voice in protest. Don't lie. What joy do you find in belittling your mother? It's the truth. We even have proof. This exchange was captured by the camera. Nancy, probably wanting to maintain a good image in front of the relatives, was now shunned and hunched over in her seat, isolated. Adam made sure to record even her uncomfortable moments. I was in shock throughout the video and took a deep breath after finishing it. Hannah really went all out with her revenge. After investigating, it turns out Nancy used your $50,000 to pay off her debts. And not just that. She freely squandered money on trips and shopping. That's terrible. But the amount seems too large for just that, doesn't it? It's just the tip of the iceberg. It seems she has been borrowing money under false pretenses from various places. Adam's words left me speechless. It's not surprising that someone who could so easily lie to her family could do the same to others, but the extent was appalling. Adam decided to file for divorce, citing Nancy's bad habits. With Hannah married and living separately, it was a good opportunity, and she supported Adam's decision. Later, I was informed that the divorce between Adam and Nancy was finalized. Nancy still hasn't given up on Hannah, trying to make contact by claiming parental rights. But Hannah's husband has not allowed it and never will. I wouldn't want my children to meet a grandmother who lies like her, Hannah said, and moved far away to avoid Nancy. She keeps in touch with me via email as usual. Her husband is a good person, and we've become close as families since the incident at the wedding photo shoot. Nancy called me once. The content of the call was, ever since she got married and left the house, I can't get in touch with Hannah at all. Let me see my daughter. Say that everything you said was a lie. Of course, I politely declined and have since cut off contact with Nancy. Interestingly, $50,000 I had given for Hannah was thoroughly scrutinized during the divorce proceedings between Adam and Nancy, and it was returned. Her relatives are also aware of her misdeeds at the wedding, and now, it seems she doesn't have anyone on her side. She is reportedly working tirelessly, day and night, to pay off the alimony. Hannah, let me know first when you have children. I'm looking forward to it. Of course, Grandma. I'll always keep you updated. Hannah remains upbeat, and our relationship has grown even stronger. We're making plans for a family trip to create new memories, making up for the times we couldn't be together during celebrations. Have you moved out yet? Said the eldest son's wife, Mary, smirking. I, who was treated like a criminal and kicked out of the house, couldn't help but smirk inwardly at her. My name is Maria. I turned 60 this year. I've been a workaholic all my life, but in 5 years, I'll be retiring from my job. I have 2 sons. I used to live with one of them, my eldest son, Jason. After my husband passed away early, Jason, who lived alone, worried about me and invited me to live with him. After a while, he got married. His partner, named Mary, was a colleague he met at work. At that time, I suggested to him that I should move out, but he said it was fine for us to live together. So, I didn't leave Jason's house and continued to live as before. Of course, I thought Mary had happily accepted me living with them. A few months after Jason got married, the true nature of my daughter-in-law, Mary, began to show. She was supposed to be working, but suddenly quit her job. Jason was surprised at the time, but she brushed it off by saying, "We might have a child, right?" I thought it was fine if he was okay with it. However, instead of dedicating herself to household chores after quitting her job, she did nothing of the sort. All the cleaning and laundry were dumped on me. Most of Jason's meals were just pre-packaged side dishes transferred from the pack to the plate. I tried to speak up once, but my concerns were not welcomed. Rather, it seemed to have caused resentment, and I was accused of bullying the daughter-in-law. With such accusations, I was left with no recourse. It's their marriage, so I thought to leave them be, but I couldn't just ignore it when all the troublesome tasks were thrown my way. My work will soon end, and I'll receive my retirement benefits. Having worked decently, I expect to receive a decent amount. With that money, I could afford to rent a place and live on my own. I feel bad for Jason, who invited me out of concern, but I couldn't stand being nice in front of such a daughter-in-law anymore. Since then, I've been searching for a place to live while working. One day, Mary approached me with a smirk. "Do you have money, Maria? Why do you ask that all of a sudden? You've been looking for properties lately, right?" said Mary. Wondering what she was plotting, she suddenly grabbed my hand and started pleading. "If you have money, could you lend me some?" What? I was surprised by her request. When I said that she should be receiving living expenses from Jason, she began to cry exaggeratedly. "It's not enough. I receive living expenses from his salary, but he seems to be spending it on gambling and alcohol. And the money for me is getting less and less." What? I was shocked. Jason was always so serious and stiff. Gambling and alcohol. It seemed impossible, but as Mary sobbed and sniffled, she tried to garner my sympathy. Even so. It's terrible. Won't you take my side, Maria? There are only enemies in this house for me. I want to go back to my parents' house. But I don't even have the money to go back. My phone also has been taken away. I couldn't believe Jason would do such a thing, but as she said, she didn't have the phone she had shown me before. Shocked to learn this new side of my son, I was taken aback. How much are you short? Jason only gives me $100 a month for living expenses. What? Maria, could you give me $400 for living expenses? I was puzzled by her statement. That's not enough money to live on. What is my son hiding? As I suspected, Mary quickly began to prepare to leave the house after receiving $400. Suddenly, where are you going? I have to hide it. If this gets out, I'll be back late, she said and left for somewhere. I thought it was flashy for going to hide something, but since Mary always liked flashy clothes, I didn't feel anything was amiss at the time. After Jason came home, I immediately confronted him with what I heard from his wife. What's going on? Jason's face turned red, and he bitterly spat out, "That woman. Mom, she tricked you." What? Since we got married, her spending has been out of control. That's why I took over managing the money. If I gave her $1,000 a month for living expenses, she'd spend it all in less than half a month. She kept saying it wasn't enough and demanded my bank book or credit card. Jason said with anger in his voice. I couldn't believe he was lying given his serious demeanor. I took away her cell phone because she was cheating. When I asked her to show me the contents, there was clear evidence. She was spending my salary on another man. I was shocked by Jason's words. I couldn't believe such problems were occurring between the two of them, who had only recently married. I thought it was best not to get too involved, so I knew nothing about this. The money you lent her is probably already gone. You must never lend her money again. I could only nod strongly at his words. After hearing from Jason, my distrust of Mary grew even more. Since then, she has asked me for money several times, but I've evaded and dodged her requests. Gradually, her mood worsened, and she began to lash out at me. It's because you're here that he won't give me any salary. We can't afford to support you. If you leave, we'd have more room in our budget. You understand, right? Every time we passed each other, she made me her enemy and complained. Why do I have to endure so much? Your mother is always at home, either on the computer or watching TV. I saw her yelling at Jason like that. He kept trying to calm her down, but she wouldn't listen in her anger. I've felt increasingly uncomfortable in this house and recently started using cafes as my place to use the computer. I wanted to escape from her even for a little while. Then one day, she called me out. Maria, won't you move out? Why? To be honest, our household finances are tight. We don't have the money to support you. You're not retired yet and you have a job, right? Though you spend your days wandering and just staring at the computer, I'm not sure if that counts as work. She said, snickering. I'm saying I want you to stop leeching off my husband. I was so shocked by her words that I couldn't speak. I've never taken living expenses from Jason. I live a frugal life and don't waste money. I'm not being supported by Jason. Do you even know my job? I don't care. But it must be some low-paying job since you're always at home on the computer. Mary laughed. Angered by her attitude, I raised my voice, don't be ridiculous. I serve as a financial advisor in a company. Simply put, I'm a certified public accountant. That's why I'm always on the computer at home. I can't believe it. How can someone your age have such a role? Are you even sure you can use a computer? Say whatever you want. I couldn't stand her terrible attitude any longer, and finally, I said, enough. I'm leaving. But wait a bit. I'll leave as soon as I find a place. Don't forget what you said, okay? Please leave as soon as possible. She said, laughing triumphantly. As I watched her, I came up with a plan. I wanted to get back at this infuriating daughter-in-law. I told Jason about my plan to leave. At that time, I made a proposal to him. After thinking it over, he agreed to consider my proposal since he had been thinking about it for some time. To execute my plan alone, I made sure to inform Mary in advance. I'll take all my things with me when I leave. You better do that. This house isn't your storage room, she said. She gave me a smug face. While glaring at her, I proceeded with the preparations to move out. Jason seemed to be doing well too, as he reported back to me with a bright face for the first time in a while. After spending a few days like that, Mary began urging me to leave again. When exactly are you leaving? It's amazing how you can spend your days here with a clear conscience, stealing my husband's salary. Maybe getting older makes you shameless? Her sarcasm started early in the morning. As I mostly ignored her and continued with the household chores, she looked clearly displeased with me. Ah, it's so unsettling to have a thief in the house. Just being a mother-in-law makes me cautious, can't you at least go out somewhere? She said loudly from the bathroom so I could hear. Feeling irritated by her, I took my work tools and left the house. Finally, she's gone. Such a nuisance. She said loudly enough to be heard at the entrance, laughing gleefully. She could only say that for now. Using my professional skills, I started tracking her behavior. That's when I discovered her secret. Upon finding out, I immediately contacted Jason. Hearing my story, he was shocked, but he was relieved to have finally made a decision. Now I could give Mary a taste of her own medicine. Treating me like a criminal and spending Jason's salary was the lowest of the low. I had to make sure my plan succeeded to make her reflect thoroughly. It was necessary for Mary to remain unaware until then. Don't let it slip, just go about your usual routine. I'll introduce you to a good person, so go meet the person this weekend. After work is fine. I'll send you the contact details. Thank you. I'll make sure it doesn't seem unnatural and talk to them after work. Jason said, his voice downcast but determined. Praising myself for being his mother, I decided to proceed with the plan. Mary, unaware of our movements, had been talking about planning a trip a month ago. Jason and I saw this as an opportunity and quickly proceeded with our preparations. Today was the day. Mary was all dressed up and excited from the morning. How will you manage the money? I asked. Everything would be paid for by him, she replied, smiling happily. Suspicious. The atmosphere clearly indicated it wasn't just a friend. Seeing Jason there with a bitter expression, I figured it was probably a trip with her affair partner. After telling Jason to keep an eye on her, he said, "It's okay," with a complex look on his face. I could understand his feelings. Being betrayed by someone he loved and married would take me days to recover from, too. After confirming that Mary had left the house with a large carry-on bag in the morning, we each started to move. A few minutes later, 2 moving trucks arrived in front of the house. I called in advance for this day. After ensuring all my belongings were loaded, I called Mary. I'll be out by today. Then I'll call you again tonight to check. Finally, you're leaving. I thought you were going to parasite here forever. She spoke in a pleased tone. She must be smirking smugly on the other end of the phone. However, her house was almost empty. But leaving only her belongings behind. Jason looked around the empty house and placed his wedding ring the most visible spot. Also, could you leave this too? But this. We had an argument before, and I thought this would prove it. I handed him a copy of my salary statement, saying that. Surprised by the amount, he realized this was the salary I had always received. I didn't know you earned this much. I'll take after you, Mom. Strive to do your best. I smiled at him and got into the car. At night, as promised, Mary called me. Have you moved out yet? Her tone was so sneering, it was palpable. It was utterly distasteful. Yet, knowing I would never have to see her face again felt refreshing. I gave her a brief reply, and she quickly hung up. I called Jason. Did everything go well? Have you properly explained to your workplace, in-laws, relatives, and siblings? Yeah, I had plenty of time, so I managed to explain everything to everyone. Did your move go smoothly? Yes, I found a lovely place. When everything settles down, come visit me. Of course. I'll bring my brother along too. Jason sounded relieved and brighter than before. I felt relieved at his change and decided to wait for Mary's next move. A few days later, I received a frantic call. Recognizing the number and name, I knew it was her. She must be bewildered by the empty house and her husband's disappearance. I had already told Jason not to answer. I made sure to advise that, if possible, our whereabouts should remain completely unknown to Mary. Hello? Maria. Jason is in trouble. Her panicked voice was piercing. I quickly switched to speaker mode. What happened? Jason is gone, he left, it's like a disappearance. Nothing is left behind, and even his clothes and belongings are gone. It must be your doing, right? Where is he? I don't know. I've already left the house, so please don't drag me into your problems anymore. Where are you, Maria? I'll come to pick him up. Unfortunately, Jason isn't with me. If you want, I can switch to the camera and show you my room. I switched to video call and showed her the inside of my room. She was speechless, perhaps finally convinced. You should try contacting relatives or his workplace. I've already done that. But he's not there. They told me he took a few days off. I don't know where he is. How am I supposed to live from now on? You should work and earn for yourself. Well, you have debts, so I doubt you can live a wealthy life. When I mentioned her debts, Maria gasped in shock. How do you know about that? Did you think I wouldn't find out? I did a little digging into your affairs. It seems you've been taking money out of my son's salary to pay off your debts, right? And on top of that, you're still financially supporting your lover despite everything. I suppose the trip was with your lover, wasn't it? Jason knew about it. And that's why he left to cool off. He'll contact you eventually. Hearing this, Mary was shocked into silence, unable to respond for a while. Finally, when she spoke again, she attempted to sweet-talk me. By the way, I saw your salary statement. You earn so much? I didn't know and said some rude things. I want to apologize. Can you tell me where you live? I want to apologize in person. I don't need it. You're probably just saying that to borrow money, aren't you? I won't fall for your lies anymore. No, that's not it. I really am in trouble, and I was hoping for a little help, but, for now, I just want to apologize. Why don't you stop the charade? I'm done dealing with you. You wanted this, after all, right? I said and hung up the phone. And immediately contacted Jason. He mentioned he would call her the next day to confront her. After ending the call with me, it seems she had been incessantly calling Jason's phone. He answered once without saying anything, then hung up, not giving her any chance to latch on. Desperate without any financial support, Mary was likely struggling to keep him by her side. Not knowing what kind of person her lover was, but not being able to rely on him indicates his worth. Jason, unaware of her debts until I informed him, no longer had to worry about being burdened by them. Finally, we were free from the trouble. I stood tall, looking around my new home while dedicating myself to work. A few days later, Jason called her to demand a divorce. She clung to him, but he decisively rejected her with a simple, "I won't forgive you." Returning to his job, Jason expressed his gratitude to his bosses and colleagues with sweets for their support. It was my suggestion to help him disappear from her radar. Anticipating she would inquire about his whereabouts. I had also prepared by reaching out to our extended family and in-laws. As a result, she was cornered from all sides. Having brazenly gone on a cheating trip, this retaliation was well-deserved. Above all, for trying to cast me out as a criminal, I hoped she would deeply reflect on her actions. Following this, Mary found herself overwhelmed with her accumulated debts. Even her parents, unable to forgive their daughter's atrocious treatment of her husband, turned her away. Eventually, they disowned her, leaving her without anyone to turn to. Furthermore, her lover abandoned her upon realizing she was out of money, revealing his true colors as well. Now, at 65 and having retired, I'm living a comfortable life with more retirement funds than expected.